Okay, what do we all think? Oh, lots of conversation. Great. Um, Porter, Brewery Pond Skillful Wheel Plumber, Ranch Provost Brewery Pond, Porter Field Fences. So Zach thinks estate worker is viable. Provost reasonable. Elo of opponents, good point. Black Sheeps and GBSQ are both in the 200 or 300 range. Pepikos is near 500. And second seat. Nothing in this pack says field fences will be good, except that the card's name is field fences, and the card lets you build fences while saving wood. That does itself say field fences is good. Good 5, bad 3. The case builder on the wheel is going to be hot with the Brewery Pond. Now, that's one thing that I confess I did not consider. Okay, so I guess time to talk about it. I really didn't know either. Skillful Renovator and Porter were my two occupation considerations in the end here. And in terms of like thematic synergy, Porter and Brewery Pond kind of say build a somewhat big playhouse, and if Plumber comes back, then that works out fine. Skillful Renovator kind of says I'm fencing after renoing, and I didn't really feel that was super great. So I went with Brewery Pond and Porter. You can see my hesitation to pass field fences. That's funny. Yeah, trying to wheel Plumber with Skillful Renovator is very reasonable, but then you're also probably not getting a ton of wood out of Skillful Renovator. Alright, it is what it is. Porter Tree Guard. Tree Guard does mess with stuff. Okay, spoiler alert. Well, I guess that's not too big of a spoiler. We find Harpooner to go with Brewery Pond. Legitimate Harpooner moment. The miners are pretty solid. Chicken Coop, Truffle Slicer, Clay Supply, Nest Site, Drift Boat. So, based on Porter, Brewery Pond, I think Harpooner is pretty clear. The rest of the Ox are pretty iffy. You could argue maybe Master Builder, but I think I'd rather have Harpooner first before thinking Master Builder's viable. Moral Crusader is somewhat interesting for Chicken Coop and or Clay Supply, but Food Drips is not exactly the theme of my game anymore. Scythe Worker not very useful with a Brewery Pond, so yeah, I think Harpooner is relatively clear. So then what I was thinking is that because my food's so good, I can take a bit of a chance on Truffle Slicer. That is what I thought, right? I also thought Driftnet Boat was overkill. KLJ loves the coop. Catchy saying, you know how this will end. Is Clubhouse on the same par as Chicken Coop? I think Clubhouse is better because it doesn't cost a read. But the rewards are pretty similar. You got a sick Harpooner Brewery Pond and ended halfway through due to quitter? Oof. Xavier agrees about the no read cost. It would not proc Porter coming. Because I wouldn't be taking 4 of the same building resource from an accumulation space. Give me the truffles. I should be doing the step at a time thing to not spoil. Very tough minor pick here. I love Loom, and this looks like an amazing baseboard situation. So, pick your poison. Welcome me, that's not what the card says. Rustic is a pretty interesting choice, but I don't think the other choices are super interesting. Conjurer says take the other bottom feeding spot. Layabout says, do you have food problems? Market Crier says, give everyone grain so you can have more grain. And Party Organizer also asks if you have food problems. I don't have food problems, is what I'm projecting with Porter, Harpooner, Brewery Pond. So... am I taking Rustic then? Like, Rustic is kind of the by default option. I'm not super happy about it. But there was that Plumber in pack 1, which might come back and give me early Clay Reno. And Porter extra Clay for Clay Rooms. I think Rustic actually makes more sense than I was initially saying. Oh, thanks, Wonderful Place, for asking. This is... I didn't change the title. I meant to come back and change the title, and then I didn't. Reviewing my game from last night is what we are doing now, because this one is worth sharing. And I'll probably post this recap to YouTube, because it's fun. Yeah, Sivir. Wood distributor from EIK could trigger Porter on fishing? Yes. But you wouldn't... you would just get one food. Because wood's not the accumulating type. And food is not a building resource. So if you put 4 wood onto fishing, no matter how many food are on fishing, you would get an extra food from Porter. You were right, it's the second game in second without stool. We are on a milking stool dry spell. I'm really sorry, Wonderful Plays. I'm sure you've unfollowed like 6 times, and I thank you for coming back each time. Okay, and then, yeah, this is a pretty hard pick between Loom and baseboards. Brewery Pond gives you the early grain to throw at baseboards, or more reasonably, just throw your food at it. And Big House is good. But Loom is safer and also very good. The RNGesus haven't been kind to you? No. The RNGesus has been awful to me the last couple weeks of Agricola, and I'm, like, barely surviving. Okay, but I think this is fun. Alright, are y'all ready for this? I don't think you're all ready for this next pack. Game is not ready either. Oh, I just had to do a few extra clicks. Every game universal excuse? So true, Trollo. Some games have no randomness. True. But even in Patchwork, even though there's no randomness during the game, there's randomness in the setup, for example. And yeah, sometimes the setup makes it really tough for a 4th seat or something like that. Okay, so pretty wild pack here for 4th pick. I think pretty clearly I didn't get a great draft position here because there are some real bangers that I'm having to pass either way. No, Bricklayer Clay's 4th pick. Why am I even sharing this game? Why am I bothering to share this game? Patchwork sometimes that's exactly what I'm saying, Trollo. And you're rated higher than I am, so I'm sure you understand. I am thinking, what are the good ox I missed? Of course I am, yeah. But also, after I stop worrying about that, I have to make some picks for myself here. Lumbermill I like a lot, but when you're running Harpooner, you're planning to get your read from Harpooner and Brewery Pond. You're not expecting to get your read from Resource Market, which means you're not getting early stone for Lumbermill. So I can't really take Lumbermill here. Therefore, I'm just trying to silence my tower because it's buzzing. Okay. So I can't really take Lumbermill, I don't think. So I go with Excursion. The Ock is tricky. But because I feel kind of stuck with Excursion to the Quarry, I'm like even farther in on Big House here. And Haydryer, Big House doesn't really add up. Whereas Wholesaler, Big House is excellent. Tutor is decent to think about, but Harpooner and Porter also want to be played early, and even though second seat you can maybe find a bunch of early Ock lines easier, didn't like it nearly as much as Haydryer or Wholesaler. So I pass Haydryer. Congratulations on wheeling Haydryer, whoever ends up taking it. Does Zach and Sivir agree with these picks? Back to pack one. Where Plumber? Where Plumber? Cow Prince Haydryer having a field day? Yeah. I can't do anything about it. Just Wholesaler's totally great for me here. Wholesaler, because your win rate with the card is very high. Everyone's win rate with Wholesaler is pretty good. Who says Haydryer is a top 20 Ock? Couldn't be anyone. Hey, Spade. Yeah, I mean, you can probably catch up in the last 15 minutes or whatever this is. We're just replaying my game from last night because it's definitely worth a share. Plumber over State Worker can be reasonable. Yeah, so when I see Plumber and Skillful gone, I think multiple people want to Reno early, which is not great for Rustic, but is better overall for building Big House. Estate Worker, but do we play it ever? I mean, yeah, because the other stuff just doesn't make sense. The Miner, I don't think Game Trade is good enough here for multiple reasons. Plant Fertilizer doesn't make sense. Food Basket kind of duplicates Wholesaler and Brewery Pond, but the other option is Corf, and I have big boosts of stone. So I also think this pick is kind of straightforward. Do y'all hear the buzzing in the background, or is it too light right now? I hope it's too light to hear. Food Basket worth to do-draft? That's also true. I mean, I'm planning to have extra read this game. Alright, the Coop came back. And compared to Nest Site, I think it's worth it here. And the Automatic Trough is pretty close behind Chicken Coop. Normally there's a big power differential, but when Loom hugely benefits from breeding sheep pretty early, and Water Trough being a potential out to that, Water Trough is pretty reasonable here too. Scythe Worker, having fields is not a big priority for me, so I think it's Stonebuyer here. We're gonna go through the whole game. Oh, this is a whole game to go through. Nest Site, you see a fun Ock start Ock. You can always consider that with Nest Site, and it's not a terrible option. In my opinion, Brewery Pond is probably a better thing to rush than Nest Site. So to get 2 Ocks down and Brewery Pond super early, I think is the better way to go. Also, Stonebuyer says if you have food, you can get easier sealing. Yeah, y'all should be getting popcorn if you haven't already. Or second seat. Market Crier, never. Growing Farm, never. That was pretty much my only thoughts here. Okay. Let's do this. Let's see what craziness happens here. Pepikos opens a bonehead. Fine. You could argue Ock, you could argue Reedstone. Ock is probably more sensible. I went with Reedstone. Because I wasn't feeling super urgent about Porter or Harpooner or Estate Worker, even though I probably should have. This is maybe a mistake. I'm sorry about this. Oh look, someone has a good card. You'd always open Estate Worker, that's fair. Yeah, I think Estate Worker in hindsight is probably the better play there. Pepikos starts with Clay Supply. Yep, Sivir, I am hypocritical sometimes. Two wood. I'm just kind of thinking room parts here. Admittedly, Estate Worker doesn't slow that down, so... Oh, and we get the one read! We get the one read, y'all. We know what that means, right? I'm facing Informant and Childless. Good times! Alright, I get free Ock, which was kind of the point of taking Reedstone, is to save food on the first Ock play. Some small gains. GB takes 3 wood because Reedstone's not there and we're trying to make Childless's life worse, supposedly. Pepikos takes Ock. Yep, that's right. Childless is not where you think it is. Two wood first move. One read, move 8 round 1 makes sense if you know you pass Childless. Okay, so this game is already a little weird, right? Makes sense for Pepikos in this exact spot. They tried to greed 2 read and they didn't get it. Yeah. No, it's not terrible. I'm not sure I would have gone this route. It's a little worse food-wise, in my opinion, but it's not that bad. Okay. But if you thought this was a crazy start to a game, just wait. So GB took 2 clay, second action of round 1 while having Informant already played. I was very confused. This unconfuses me. But there was this extra layer of confusion about the 2 clay. At this point in the game, I'm already thinking, what in the world is happening this game? And now we get that. Giga Childless defense. Things are wild. Things are just wild this game. And I'm already just like, sure, let's just try to do as best we can here. This is an arena game. It's not Animal Childless. which is kind of a card in the new set. Okay. Then Black Sheep goes with Tutor. Rough day for Papikos, who probably considers taking one read second action here. Okay. Well, I played Porter. There's a 4 clay stack. Maybe I could play Harpooner here and be a bit better off, but this feels like good value. There's no Clonock. Yeah, early Farm Store works with Informant, I agree. Conjurer from GBSQ. Not a great Conjurer with Black Sheeps being hungry, Papikos hungry. And guess what happens? Wow. Alright, my move here. What do we think? Part of the motivation, I will say, kind of spoiling the answer, that the 4 clay move meant that I didn't have to spend wood for Chicken Coop. Yeah. I was kind of setting up to take Chicken Coop into Grove here with Porter. Chat? Why is my Streamlabs saying connecting to chat? Hopefully Twitch is fine. One read for comedy reasons, one read would be a silly move. I was trying not to participate in the confusion that happened all during this game. The other move besides Grove I could take here is 2 read. We already know there's some read shenanigans going on. But, you know, 5 wood and a food is 5 wood and a food. Yeah, Zach, that's what they mean. Alright, Reedstone from GBSQ makes enough sense. And 2 read for Black Sheeps. Papikos does get compensation with first fireplace for round 2 sheep. But yeah, this is just like extremely rough for Papikos. To Black Sheep, like, to credit, like, this is not a bad move necessarily because no one else can build in front of them. Here I play Harpooner, noting the read is ridiculous. So this Brewery Pond is delayed. We also get Conjurer here for 2 food and a wood because you want to buy farm store stuff. Alright, ready for the next wild move of this game? There's Informant and Farm Store, meaning GB's going to have room parts, and Black Sheeps needs to start if they want the first room, start or build. Okay, start. Makes sense, right? Oh, family-friendly home. The motivation for having 4 read makes more sense. Also makes Childless suffer more. Because now build is even more contested. Papikos takes the sheep, thinking probably buys 6 wood this way. But regardless of how much sense Black Sheep's moves end up making, pretty crazy stage 1, right? We need Rainier to voice the game from Red's point of view. Oh gosh. Yeah, we do. We really do. Also because I know other things that I haven't revealed to y'all yet. But we really need Rainier to voice Red's point of view from the whole game. Maybe. Maybe Sivir. Rainier would never try this opening. Well, that's what would make it a little funnier. Is that we need to convince Rainier to justify the Papikos opening. But yes, follow that with the caterwauling. Okay. Stone flips. I think I'm getting a Porter Clay stack. Whoops! GB has room parts. Papikos has a childless. This is just a serious misplay. Papikos going to start into build next round. Unless this is Beating Rod or something. It's Ed bonus. This is a nicely timed Ed bonus. Third Ock is going to give a read. Playing Bonehead makes more sense now. Well, somewhat. I guess it's hard to say you saw this coming. But Papikos gets a read their next move. It's impossible to block. There's 4 actions giving a read. Alright, so I noticed that Papikos is going to be able to build. So I plan on taking Reedstone here, fishing second action, starting first move next round. Because the build queue is insane. It is way delayed. GB does the right thing. Not that it's a hard thing to find. Whoops. Yeah, if you want to aggressively be evil to someone, you should probably read their cards also. That is a third single read move. Chat recap, please? What do you mean? Alright, I get my 2 actions that give me a read each. Oh, what went on in game chat? Oh. The gist of it was that Papikos basically said, before, like, in stage 1, I think after taking 2 read, Papikos said, I guess it is kind of important. Okay, Papikos said in game chat, I think after the 2 read move, the chat was something like, playing like this is fine, but I don't understand why if you're doing this, why you didn't just take Childless yourself. I thought that was a very measured reaction, all things considered. Maybe it's a little more revelatory than I would like towards Table Talk, but Papikos didn't seem to actually get mad, just like, or at least not actively mad, you know. Thanks for prompting me, Mighty. Okay, late growth, family-friendly home. The room queue is a gigantic mess. We could Porter here, but we probably get Porter second action. And I do think building the third room here is important because the other option is letting Black Sheeps build next round and then the round after that. Because if I don't start, GB does. No, I think that's not towards you, Zizak. GB takes Reedstone here instead of a pile of wood or clay. I guess that speaks to the food situation and or wanting an occupation. But guarantees that I get a Porter move. So that's cool. Black Sheep takes more wood. That's reasonable. Alright, Pepiko's plows. Childless, fields. Sure. I think we all have our salty moments and we're not necessarily proud of them. I don't want to focus on that. Yeah, exactly, Savior. The one read was just an attempt at blocking I think failed. But yeah, I'm not... I didn't bring up Pepikos' chat to poke at it. Definitely not. I think Pepikos reacted quite well overall, considering. Okay, and then a house steward comes out. So, late grow, family-friendly home, gonna try to build like 1 billion rooms. House steward to support that. GB now has room parts. You like Bohemian? Makes some sense. He is gonna beg 20. There may or may not have been begging this game. One more read for the triple build? Yeah. Okay, I continue with my plan, even though 6 wood is there. The room queue is absolutely horrific. If I... Yeah, I don't want to risk not building right now. Drift boat, I think, is a pretty bad play. Well, it's bad in that it doesn't give a food. But I guess it adds a second 4-food move, so maybe it's fine. Black Sheep takes resources, because what else would they do? Surely not feed. Pepiko's plows here. I thought this was a start player from Pepiko's, but it's a plow. So, yet another twist to this game. I can start here for second grow. Why would you think cesspit, Esoteric? I'm curious why you're thinking that. Greedy Childless? I think it might be Greedy Childless. Why else would you... Oh, because Childless has crops. And if you have something that turns a lot of crops into a lot of food and or points later, it's gonna make enough sense. Also, you can be greedy. Alright, I decide that despite having a huge clay move and 3 stone available, that I should just take second grow. GB takes 4 food, 1 wood, and is praying for Bohemian to proc. Which I didn't realize at the time, honestly. I thought they were gonna beg. Black Sheep. This is a sad layabout. This is a really sad layabout. Playing it when you're feeding 4, when you're planning to build big house, that is not a good sign. Pepikos goes 3 stone. Okay. Presumably eats a sheep. Bohemian procs, saving GB from starving. Though it is the second raw grain they have to eat. If Pepiko's ox teal begs. Didn't notice that. Planning to build a big house is quite understated, yeah. Pigs flip. Vaguely adding to the amount of animals in this game. Alright, I grow. That's what I'm set up to do. We can truffle. Alright, GB takes 3 read. I was definitely hoping to get 3 read, but it does make sense. Farm store BMW or more rooms, it's fine. I was probably never getting that 3 read back. It's just a little sad. It's room time! As GB is threatening a room. Pico starts. Esoteric is right. I was just very confused as to how you drew that conclusion. Because that's not what it says to me at all. Also, another top tier card that's not in my hand. The big stack of clay doesn't do enough for me without read. And Portering Wood is just obviously great. Big stack of clay to GB. 8's a great number for them. They can now reno and build a clay room. Cesspit stage 3 is a suicide. It's only 1 point loss at worst. I'm not sure what you don't like about it, WeKotor. 3 clay and 3 pigs is totally fine. It's not maximum. It's far from maximum, but... Pipiko's grabbing sheep. Reasonable, big food move. Yeah, turns out Pipiko's would have been better served focusing Cesspit first 2 rounds instead of Childless, but how are you ever gonna really realize that? Okay, so Pipiko's is probably growing, and I'm probably getting Porter Wood. Mini Pasture passes. First move, fishing. I was pretty darn sure this was going to be Reno Well or build, but it's neither. What is that pasture location? Ranch Provost. Gonna cover these either in a 3x3 or a 2x3. Yeah. Playboat, use boat, indeed. Yeah, I don't get this food move. So, at some point by now, probably by the time I got to start to grow second, there's this, like, phrase that popped up in my head. There are some games where I feel like I don't understand Agricola very well. During this game, I knew that I didn't understand Agricola very well, because the entirety of things that have happened in this game so far is just so far off the usual. It is wild. And maybe on replay, some of these things are less wild than they appeared. Here, it's very clear to me that I can easily mini pasture into the pigs. I have plenty of food. Teal's just in deep need of, yeah, possibly. I mean, Conjurer Clay Oven's also there, like... Sometimes I'm just along for the ride. Or you're just, yeah, the Royal You. Yep. Yep, that's basically what it was. Pottery here. Yeah, not BMW, pottery. Conjure. Yeah, I agree with all. Okay, yep. Yep, 2 food traveling. Don't take day labor and add, or like, I guess it doesn't change how much food is in the game, but it does overall increase the efficiency of everyone's actions if you take day labor instead of traveling. Man, I don't know anymore. Like, yeah, and for... I'm like, I throw my hands up. I don't get it. I'm very proud of this move. I'm very proud of this move here. What's my game plan from here? What do we think, chat? Ignore the fact that I just went on Ock, but what should my game plan here be? Take pigs, build well, farm it out. Some votes for rooms now. Win how? Yeah, that would be great. But, like, can I predict where the read is going? Read is pretty tight, right? Immediate farming into plan clay rooms long term. Uh-huh. One read premium action for me, Harpooner. Alright, I'm very proud of this one. We play the Reed Roof Renovator. Because if we're gonna build rooms, we need Reed. The more Reed, the better. The clay in this game is not going to be a limiting factor. It's not a stage 1 Reed Roof Renovator. It's definitely not a stage 1 Reed Roof Renovator. I thought GB was renovating. But no, they're just keeping Informant turned off. And plowing. Yeah, I mean, the amount of things in this game that were weird / not understandable is wild. That's next level. These types of moves are why we have a good move on the auto chat. Yeah. So yeah, a legitimate Reed Roof Renovator. As GB starts buying veggies here, holding a pottery and not a hearth. And yeah, so I had planned on taking the pigs, but I realized I could just let them breed on the board. So that's what I did. GB chooses now to build. Okay. Nice tactical beggar. Take one read in round 6 and have to beg later. That tactical beggar. Plays food chest on grow, losing 2 potential food. Alright, what's this action? I think it's kind of clear what this action should be, actually. Anyone trying to play along in chat, or should I just continue? Two read, 9 clay. These are reasonable enough. Hey, Rainier, you're increasingly convinced. Rainier, were you here when chat asked for your services related to this game? No, you were not. We need you to narrate this game from Pepikos' perspective. No, I think Zach has it. I think this is a very clear fence move. The motivation here is that we're not building rooms until Reed Roof Renovator finishes giving us Reed. Because we can just do the 3-room and do some farming while collecting room parts to win House Steward later with Rustic. That was what I was thinking. Apparently, present me is now more convinced this is fences. I mean, I have loom. Cows just flipped. Sure, I have wholesaler, but why am I not just fencing here? Black sheep can fence. Black sheep, I probably am gambling, doesn't fence. Pepicos can fence. What? Do I undo this? No! I'm just wild. Civ is always right. It was 9 clay. Huh. I feel like that's a very clear fences. Pepicos takes the well because GB refused to. On Reno. Just kidding. GB just took 3 stone to threaten it. Now do I fence? Yeah, okay, now I fence, because Pecos could take the well, and Black Sheep is obviously building another room. That's what's happening, Patrick! That's what just happened. GB not procking Informant is unfortunate. Alright, Black Sheeps has decided they need food now. Yeah, Patrick, it was less than 24 hours ago. Alright, I am going first here. Already, like, 3 read is looking very good. But also I have a loom already played, and the game is hungry. Pepicos has space for the sheep, maybe. So I first actioned the sheep. The replay is just bugged on capacity, so you just have to assume I did the capacity right. Freaking GBSQ first moves 3 read here. What the heck? You know what actually wins you the BMW instead of letting Black Sheeps take it possibly here? Is building the BMW. But no, they take the read. Does that end up being correct? We'll see. Alright, 3 clay from Black Sheeps. Alert, alert. I'm hungry. I need clay oven. 5 rooms might not be enough. You're usually impressed when I can reconstruct one of my old games from memory. Gonna have to sit with the possibility it's entirely made up. True. Very true. Pepicos with 2 cows. Once Pepicos gets capacity for everything, can hold 3 pairs. And, well, actually, maybe not. Alright, I fish here. Why did I fish here? Because I need to renovate, and the reed situation is bad. Also because the cows disappeared. Alright, so GB grows before they need to. Better read to fish. Yes, it's definitely better than Resource Market. Yep, that's right. That's a first pick wood cart that doesn't come out till Grow on round 11 from the Informant player. This game, man. This game. I forgot that even happened. You thought that was the case when they played Bohemian and then forgot it when they played Driftboat. That's funny. It's cool that you have the sense to realize that. Yeah, right, Adiamont? Alright, Black Sheeps continues on their emergency feeding plan. Pepicos does fence. I mean, when Pepicos plowed the 3rd field, I could be pretty confident they'd be ending on this fence arrangement, but now I can for sure obviously know where I want my stables to be to win Ranch Provost. They're probably going to have to be all in the big one. and therefore I only have capacity for 2 pairs. Alright, here I could do the hilarious clay oven steal, but it's way more reasonable to take a cookery because I have animals already. Regarding hearth versus fireplace, I believe both of them don't change the amount of clay actions slash rooms to build in the future, so I just take the hearth. BMW does get bought. Also, how are you buying clay oven now? I have a conspiracy theory that Papico's tried to sew this way to trigger my OCD, which wanted grain, veg, grain. But there isn't actually a bad aesthetic choice here. The veg either lines up with the small pastures here, the 2 rooms here, or it's in the middle. Black Sheep's takes the last food on the board space and eats that raw grain. That is a 3rd raw grain eaten by this table. Yep, purple got in their own way when they traveled instead of day labored. You think this arrangement is better aesthetics? Huh. My problem is that at the end of the game, there's going to be nothing on these 2 fields, but you didn't have a chance to re-sow them. So I'm thinking of the endgame symmetry as well. Okay. My game, going back to slightly more serious things, I have some issues relating to Reed. And Reed Roof Renovator is not fully fixing everything. This game looks like a fairly typical everyone's delayed late grow game. I think the way we got here is particularly notable, even though I think I agree that in the end you could reduce it down to something like that. I think the way we got here is insane. Alright, Urgent Wish flips for me. Vincent doesn't always hate me, it turns out. Also, did anyone take start last round? I don't even remember. No, I think I just got to retain start. Great. So even though I want to build more rooms later, this gives me the action a lot faster and takes it away from the rest of the table. Pretty clear move, even though Porter 6 wood is not that bad because it means I only take 1 more wood action for my 4 stables, but I do have a reason to take more wood actions and be okay. Sad that Truffle Slicer hasn't actually procced yet, but I did have the wood tempo in the first place, which is just better. Alright, here I decide to take wood. The other options are clay, 2 pigs, or like single reed moves. So I just decide to truffle it up and work towards the provost. The nice thing about building more rooms here is that I can get both 4 wood bonuses in one go. Wholesaler off the team. Pretty crazy, right? But I actually don't have a ton of actions, so yeah. The way that the sheep and the pigs and the cows have happened means that the only thing that's helpful from Wholesaler maybe is the extra veg. And I have a food basket in hand, so... You know what would be better than Wholesaler? A haydryer. Yeah. Also, chat, who do we think has haydryer? Probably GBSQ and they just got delayed fencing, right? Surely. What, did the way I asked give it away? Fences from Black Sheeps. Well, that's not a haydryer. It is a party organizer, though. As Pepikos works through the Zed bonus, next dock is a veg, one after that's a field. And I do take a reed move here that comes with a green and 5 food. Weak players really underrate it. That is true, though these two players are definitely both over 200. Alright, Pepikos takes Reedstone. With the Cesspit clay, that means they can Reno Stone Oven. So I'm expecting that, I think. Conjurer on 1 food. Day Laborer. Also, Black Sheep did grow into their 4th room, meaning family-friendly home is dead. Worth noting. They also fenced, which is probably the right thing to do as played. But obviously, if this was going to be their final situation, they would have played their entire opening differently. Alright, GBSQ opens this round on Cultivation, which is reasonable enough. 2 cows for Black Sheeps. Why is... Right, Sivir? GBSQ was ready to reno like 4 rounds ago, and poor Reed Roof Renovator is being starved out. Alright, I decide to crack and take 2 Reed. Getting the Brewery Pawn stuff helps. We got it! We got it! Everyone go crazy! Full guilds from GBSQ makes me think I might have forgotten a transactor, but honestly, just having a farm store is maybe good enough reason for them to do it. Black Sheeps does manage to get emergency clay oven. And there's the haydryer. That caught me way off guard. Like, I should have known, but it's still, like, really? Pepikos got a 7th pick haydryer here. Alright, I truffle it up and now have everything for 2 rooms, 4 stables, win House Steward, win Ranch Provost. Now the question is, does that get me across the finish line against Pepikos' game here? Pepikos building stables now. It is the end of round 13. If not now, then there is this thing where I have 2 moves after Pepikos here to like start and or build and possibly lock them out of stables. You remember getting a 7th pick basket carrier and picking the other card. That's wild. I took another read here. So, let's notice what's happening next round. 2 people want to renovate. 1 person wants to fence. Good to block me. Yeah, because I could double build and grow. Though I couldn't grow with food. I could grow excursion. So I might have been preparing start excursion. I actually don't remember anymore. Anyway, GBSQ actually takes the stone here. So now there are 3 renovators next round. That actually makes the tactics here a lot cleaner because I know for sure, well, pretty sure, that GB is going to reno probably fence 9 if they have enough food for it, and Black Sheep will take the other reno. That means I get 2 more reed by the time it's my move next round. Black Sheep takes Reedstone food here. I don't know if I can explain why. So here it's rustic time, because rustic is good for my situation. It's all coming together. Nobody having wood besides GBSQ means that I can probably not rush the room stable action too much. Yes, exactly, Ace Spade. There is a 6th room coming here. El Scout believing 4? That might be a little much. Also, the last read is a 2-point minor, so don't forget that. Only 3 clay on clay pit? Yes, that does matter, it turns out. Again, ignore the animal capacity, it's just showing up wrong in replays as usual. Oh, there's the porter. True. I guess technically I could get to 20 clay. I think I find better things to do. Though it is possible I just missed that option. Nice game trade. Well, yeah, the room itself is 2+1. But also the read on its own is 2 points when I grow, so... I kind of want 9 read. Yeah, definitely the 4th room doesn't make enough sense here. Pepikos takes the Consolation Stone Oven instead of renovating. Pepikos' points look high here, but right now Party Organizer is 3 points to Pepikos. So me growing to 5 is gonna kill that off. I do look like I'm pretty behind here, though. I Ock? What the heck? Oh, okay. So, I knew my last 2 moves were build and grow, and no one was forcing me to build here. So I have an action of freedom, basically. What I was hoping would happen, and this was just wrong in retrospect, I was hoping that if I Ock, someone else will, or then GB will Ock and Black Sheep will plow, and then Pepikos can't get this last 2-point field. But that was really overthinking it, because not taking a point myself with, like, a crop or a cow. Cow is only 1 point, by the way, because I'm running out of war capacity. Yeah, taking crop or cow is 1 point for me, allows a 2-point move for Pepikos, but taking Ock here gives me tiebreakers, and Pepikos for sure will have at least a 1-point move. So this move was just wrong. I should have done something else. I just played an Ock for tiebreakers, hoping for a mini block here, which didn't end up needing to happen. Plow's also a point, true. I could have plowed myself. I totally missed that. That's hilarious. Okay, but we have our big rustic move. Sponsored by Reed Roof Renovator. And take tie with Provost. Pray that Pepikos doesn't throw down a drinking trough. Give Pepikos Party Organizer food that he doesn't need. And get a 2-point minor. Breeding 2 points, 1 sheep, 1 loom. Skillful Renovator never came out. Yeah, that was another reason Reed Roof Renovator should have been a little better. So that, my friends, was my completely insane game from last night. Where the most ridiculous things happened. And I definitely wanted to share it with everyone. The childless blocking, the crazy build queue, late woodcart, haydryer 7th pick, childless not first pick. And all I have is a brewery pond, and a loom, and I guess porter. This is like your everyday game. I feel like you always say something like that, Trollo. 13 bonus points. You had a game when first room was a double build in round 6? Someone's doing something wrong. One of the clowners should not be clowning, generally, when that happens. You had a game where the first rooms were a double build second action round 6 in early grow. That's insane. You lost. Were those your rooms? Is that what you're saying? You got a double build second action in round 6 in early grow and lost? Because that sounds like you probably should have found a way to single build and grow earlier, if so. You were doing collector manservant trowel nonsense. Okay. You're excused for trying nonsense. I guess the other thing from this game is that I don't know if I'll ever play Reed Roof Renovator again in a 4-player game. But the fact that Reed Roof Renovator actually worked, and I used some element of foresight to play it, kind of wild. Things like this are why Agricola's the best. Why does it not give Reed in a 4-player game? Too strong. Surely that's it. Yes, it's too strong otherwise. Alright. If you stuck around to watch this replay from last night, thanks very much. Appreciate it. And thanks for being here for the game as well. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And I'm back Thursday with another Agricola stream as long as I don't get called in for some last-minute work obligation. Hope to see you then, or whenever you can make it next time. Bye, everyone.